This company's never been more profitable.
You mean hugely profitable?
I like it.
DavePorter.com presents The Profitable Cleaner, a podcast on commercial cleaning sales and entrepreneurship. The one podcast that's not afraid to discuss real sales strategies with real cleaning professionals that produce real profits and real results.
All right. Wow. We have the myth, the man, the legend, the coach, the cleaning owner, the well-known name, Mark Lineberry. Welcome to the Profitable Cleaner, man. Mark, I'm super excited to be speaking with you.
Thanks for having me on, James. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of funny, Mark. We met back in May at Cleaning and Cocktails at Ricky's event. Awesome event. And over the course of that week, I really got to know you a little bit about your story. Not only are you a cleaning owner, but you're also a coach and a consultant, which I think is awesome. But before ever meeting you, I knew who the name Mark Lineberry was, and everyone would say, "Oh, you got to talk to that guy. Got to talk to Mark. Got to talk to Mark." And I was fortunate enough to spend a lot of time with you in Chicago. So, Mark, for simple introductions, tell us who you are, what you do, and a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, first off, I have Lass hanging out with you guys there in Chicago, just goofing off, learn tons. I don't know about you, but my head was like a sponge.
Totally.
It was like, you know. But I'm Mark, Universal Janitorial Services. I started in sales back in 1997, and fast forward, ended up taking over the company with the most senior employee back in 2011 or so, give or take. And fast forward even there, COVID hits, and guess what? We doubled down on our marketing and our sales, and we crushed it. And I was surprised, despite taking a 70% hit because we niched in churches and schools, we're able to recover all of that by that October. So we pulled through strong, and we realized through the course of that, we had a lot of people reach out trying to figure out how we did it. And so that turned into a coaching opportunity, and later on a mastermind.
Awesome, man. So I guess my question is, how did you do it? Well, what was the secret sauce there, man?
Well, there is no secret sauce. The more you do, the more you get. I mean, that's really what it boils down to, right? And so we realized we had to double down on our marketing. We had to go out there and make more calls. We had to send more letters. We had to bump up our SEO, improve our website, add more updates to our website. So that way it keeps the SEO fresh and ranking a lot better. We did a lot of organic stuff. We jumped into social media marketing. We did a little bit of everything just to get our name out there. We figure, hey, we will either sink and crash and burn, right? We'll go down in flames, or we'll come through this really strong. And sure enough, we came through it really strong. And we realized that a lot of leads started coming in. We pulled in new clients. The government picked us up, and that's a saving grace as well, even though we had avoided the government prior to that. So we picked up a lot of new contracts through that period. Just in a matter of 3 or 4 months is amazing, the amount of growth that came in during that time.
I love it, man. When I hear you talk about when COVID hits and the world's changing, everyone's freaking out, a lot of people pull back. They pull their chips off the table because it's a fear-based reaction. And for you guys, it sounds like you did the exact opposite. You put your chips more in. Walk me through, where does that kind of gusto, that experience come from to be like, you know what, shit's kind of crazy right now, but we're going to double down on marketing versus be fear-based and pull back? Like, just talk to me about how you guys kind of came to that decision.
Well, no, I looked at it this way. Hey, there's a fire, and somewhere there's a bag of marshmallows. Let's roast some marshmallows. Let's just dive into it, go in deep. And we realized, hey, either we could go down with the ship and kind of roll over and pee on ourselves, or, wallow in the mud or anything like that. I don't know what the phrases are out there. Or we could just go and just hammer it out. I mean, we're in the middle of crap right now. There's a pony in here somewhere. Let's figure it out. Let's figure out where it's at. Let's run and let's grow. And let's bust through all this despite the economy. I mean, right now we're facing a recession, so they say. And, there's different ways to measure that. I think we're full blown into a recession. You can't tell me otherwise. That it costs more money to buy
Totally.
milk, eggs, bread, and vacuum cleaners and dust mops and everything else from wherever you buy your stuff from. You can't convince me otherwise. And a lot of people are pulling back right now. It's just like COVID. People were pulling back. Now people are pulling back again. Now's the time to jump in, dive in, grow your business, market, expand, advertise, do whatever it takes to get new clients for your own business.
I love that. You keep hearing you talk about like trying to be opportunistic in times of where people might not see opportunity. Reminds me of this old saying. I don't know who quoted it, but I read it early on in my sales career. Is like the person who tries to save money by not advertising is the person who tries to save time by stopping the clock. And I've always loved that quote because it's like, the less you do, the less you're going to get. You said the more you do, the more you get. And now's the time to do that. I'm curious, Mark, you've been in the industry since 1997. You've been through recessions before. You saw a housing crisis, how that impacted the economy. I know that for me, this is probably my first real recession I'm walking into in my adult, mature life, right? Talk to us about times before. I mean, you also saw a .com bubble. you saw some really good economies too, but they talk about janitorial being recession proof. Here we are, man. Talk to me about the history that you have and what you've seen in the past.
So we're in a unique time compared to previous recessions. I mean, we had COVID, right? And we still do in some extent where buildings are now largely empty in some cases. There's prospects I bid on right before COVID hit, and I still drive by their location almost every day just to check them out, and their parking lot is still empty. Now is not the time they want to be hiring a cleaning service, especially with the incoming recession, right? But that's when you have to double down. So we found that in the past, the janitorial industry was largely recession proof, besides price and everything else that hits us as business owners. These buildings, especially if they have lots of tenants and so forth, they still need cleaning services. They can't just say no to cleaning services. They still need it. And that's where your opportunity is to come in and shine, because there's a lot of competitors. Your competitors are out there fleeing, heading for the hills. And that's your chance to come in and take over some of this new business. Some of the greatest opportunities for those listening or seeing this is right now for growth. It's incredible where you could grow just in a matter of a short period of time because of this recession that's coming in. Now's the time to grow. Now's the time to expand. And I'm excited about this. I'm really, really excited. Now there's things you want to prepare for naturally, or there's things you should have prepared for months, years ago, and hopefully you did. But the sky's not falling just yet. There's still things you could do to re-budget and retool and get more revenue here and there, or shift your focus. And it boils down to just a few steps. And anyone can easily sit down, plan ahead, think ahead, figure out where do they want to be at in their business, and then take those steps to get there. Most people don't even have a written plan, and they're kind of like a chicken running around with their head chopped off.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that mentality, though. Kind of stay on the attack while your competitors, they're also going through it, right? They're also in the mix of inflated prices and the hiring frenzy. They're going through exactly what the hell you're going through. But what type of mindset do they have? Is it attack or is it retract? And probably retract. So if you can just do the opposite, you already have a winning edge. Mark, I'm curious, man. You specialize in churches and schools, and I know you've probably cleaned everything and have seen it all throughout your time. At what point as a janitorial company should you make the pivot to just full on niche down? And how did you kind of make that decision?
So the riches are in the niches, and you want to look at two different approaches on the services that you provide and also the companies you serve. Let's focus on the services. I challenge you to take a sheet of paper, kind of like this, fold it in half, and on one side of it, write down all the different services that you provide now or even want to provide, janitorial, porter, disinfecting, post-construction cleaning, whatever, write them all down. And now I challenge you to flip over to a sheet of paper. Now write down every single niche that's out there that you would like to clean one day. Churches, schools, banks, law offices, Class A office buildings, Class B, whatever. List them all down, country clubs, you name it, and put that down on a list. Now, here's the hardest part, and a lot of people struggle with this. Again, riches are in the niches. Figure out what services you're providing and think in your head, am I making money in these services that I'm providing right now? When we took over Universal Janitorial Services, so this would be 2011, give or take, when we took over Universal, I got to tell you, we offered every service in the kitchen sink. We had janitorial, porter, disinfecting. We had specialty floor work, but we also did unarmed security. We did some landscaping. We did maintenance. We did painting. We also did maid services for residential. And then we also did personal chef services. So we'd go in as a personal chef.
Oh, wow.
Cook for the resident. So we did everything. A lot of people think, hey, if you had more services, you make more money. But you got to understand, 95% of our revenue fell into janitorial and porter at the time and specialty floor work. The rest was not important. It wasn't important. We didn't have COVID then, so disinfecting wasn't important. You probably had norovirus back then to worry about. But aside from that, there were no disinfecting needs. We weren't making money in unarmed security. We weren't making money in the cooking service. We didn't have a cooking food prep license. We're probably operating under the table. And so I just made a conscious effort to shed all of that dead weight. It's not making us money. We're spending time and effort to market and advertise it. We're not making any money at. Why continue to do it? Let's become known as the janitorial expert or the porter expert or whatever service you want to provide. We want to be known as that expert. Now take that same sheet of paper that you just wrote down all your niches on and look at that. Well, what do we want to be known as? Do we want to be known as the professional school cleaning service in the area, or the professional church cleaning service, or the professional car dealership cleaning service, or whatever niche you put on there? And so we realized the riches are in the niches. Let's niche down our services. Let's niche down who we serve initially. I'm not saying do that forever, but initially. And that automatically puts blinders on. So when you're out there driving, I don't know about you, James, but when you're out there in your market and you're driving around and you see this building and that building, does your palms get sweaty like mine do?
Oh, totally.
Yeah,
You're like, how do I get in there?
Yeah,
Yes.
I want that building. Oh, it'd be cool to work there. Oh, look at that landmark. That'd be awesome to have, right? And so you get distracted, and we have 20 different niches listed down on your sheet of paper. Now you're distracted everywhere. Shiny object syndrome, right? Now you're bouncing all over like a bouncy ball, and you're not focused on one thing. Follow one course until success, right? So we dove down. We picked that niche, in this case, churches and schools, because we already had strong presence in it before we took over the company. And that's what we made as our niche to focus on. So all of our marketing was on that. We had dedicated web pages just for schools, dedicated pages just for churches. All of our blogging would be for churches. All of our blogging would be for schools. So that way we ranked better, SEO was better, and we'd appear in more searches.
Yeah, I love it. It sounds like you just have such an attack growth mindset and making bold decisions. Like, it's not flipping easy to niche down. So we decided to niche down 2 years ago to straight janitorial because we saw success. And then I have some kind of past experience in floor care, and I'm married to a facility director. The stars aligned. But I remember thinking before we niched down to just exclusively janitorial sales, thinking like, man, we're missing out on so much opportunity. But when we actually looked at our client list at that time, a segment of it was janitorial, and they were the only ones that were happy. So it's like, no, that's who we are. And sometimes you don't choose the niche chooses you.
Exactly.
And so I'm going to tell you, for anyone listening right now, every commercial cleaner that we work with, that we speak with, they hate deep cleaning restaurants. They stay away from there. If someone's listening to this, there's a huge ass market out there for restaurant cleaning, man. So just something I'm thinking of now that we're talking niches.
Yep.
Cool, man. Well, I want to learn a little bit more, Mark, about My Clean Pivot. It's your coaching service. It's kind of another thing you're very known for. You said that your coaching consulting career, if you will, kind of came about during COVID. Talk to me about that, and then talk to me about, like, why would someone like ever want to consider hiring a cleaning coach, for instance?
Sure. So the coaching came about because we doubled down on that marketing. So we had 3 classifications of people. Number one, we had local businesses and buildings who are truly interested in our services, right? So we had lead capture on our website, a contact form on our website. So people were coming in by droves locally saying, hey, we're interested in your cleaning services. So boom, clients right there. We had second classification of people of buildings locations not in our service area. So these were companies, organizations that had properties nationwide and globally. And so one of the first clients that we picked up, this was really cool, was a school in Cork, Ireland. I've never been to Ireland before, but that
Wow.
turned into a
Cool.
consulting opportunity. And then the third classification we had were other cleaning business owners, just like you and me, who are trying to figure out, how am I going to survive during COVID here? It just hit. What am I going to do? I'm going to check out other websites and figure out what they're doing and try to copy and emulate. And so we got a lot of leads through that. And so one by one, I just started to reach out to them. I wasn't looking to start coaching business, but I wanted to get a feel of the market, where they're going through, some of the pain points. I want to see if I was alone or if I was an outlier. So I started to reach out to them and talk to them one by one. And I realized that a lot of them were doing the same thing I were, and they're experiencing tremendous growth. And then others were retreating for the hills, and they weren't making any money. So eventually I just started to coach. I did it for free, coached them for free. I sat down and say, hey, let's hop on a Zoom call, 30 minutes. I'll share all the knowledge I have. I'm not going to charge a penny. And so that turned into some conversations. But then over time, I realized, okay, I'm getting all these calls and booking all these Zoom calls, and now I'm not having any time for my business or my family or my own life. Maybe I should start charging for this, just to weed out some of those calls that were coming in and so
Yeah,
forth.
the contenders to the pretenders.
Yeah. And so I started to charge. In fact, I announced on Ricky Regalato's podcast, right? Cleaning Cocktails, back in, so this would be January of 2021. I said, hey, I now have a paid coaching gig. And so I've been coaching ever since. And it's just a matter of sitting down with people over Zoom, a lot longer than 30 minutes. You can barely figure out what they're about in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
My sessions are about an hour and a half bi-weekly, where I'll sit down and coach and work with them and go through and provide them guides and templates and help and whatever they need to help their business grow and thrive.
That's awesome, man. So I'm curious, because you have unique insight. A lot of janitorial owner operators are listening to this show right now. When you're working with your clients, what are some of the biggest things that they struggle with?
So probably the top one, and it's been like this for at least a year, right, is labor. We're in a great nation. People are leaving by droves. Even now with the recession coming on, there's still a lot of people who are hesitant to return back to work. And I don't know if that's fear-based or laziness-based or whatever. I'm not going to judge them. They have their own reasons for doing that. But labor market is tighter. But I got to say, there's a turnaround in that. I just placed an ad for an open position, and it paid, I think, $15 an hour for full-time. And I had 400 applicants right here in the DC area.
Wow.
And that's what the sponsor got through Indeed. So it's alive and well, in my opinion. It could be better. It's not like it was in the past. I've certainly had better results in the past for rates in positions equivalent to that. But I hope to see a turnaround here pretty soon. And I think this recession is starting to scare people back to work.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it.
Outside of labor, I would have to say systems and processes is a big one. And this is something I've struggled with for a long time. I was as a guideless missile. Actually had to hire a coach, someone who I mastermind with, someone who I value and trust. His name's Scott Beebe with My Business on Purpose. And we sat down together and hired him as a coach. And he guided me through some of the systems and processes that we all need in our own business. I mean, there's other books out there like Who Not How by Dan Sullivan, where you follow the EOS method with,
Yes.
You know who I'm talking about. It's at the tip of my tongue. Gino Wickman Traction.
There you go. Yes,
so,
man. Traction's such a good one.
Yep. So you could go through some of these and learn it yourself. And I chose the other method is just hire a coach to help me coach through all this. So we broke it down. If God forbid I stepped outside the door today and got ran over by a beer truck, what would happen to my business tomorrow? And I challenge you guys, listening, watching this, what would happen to your business tomorrow if you got hit by a beer truck? Would your business die? Would your second in command know what to do? If you're married and working with your spouse, would your spouse know what to do? What about passcodes? What about information? Do they know what websites? Do they know what vendors they use? All this other information, your business could be crippled or crushed or destroyed just by one little flick of the switch. And that's all it takes. So I challenge everyone, just hire a coach, write down processes. Through your computer, you actually could use like Loom and pull up and do videos, the explainer videos of what you're doing, screen by screen play in terms of logging in or going here. And of course, you want everything written down. So we just have everything in Google Docs. It's one massive connection, like web of documents, but every single process is in there tied in with video and written word, just in case they'd rather read something than watch a video.
I think that's great. What I'm hearing here is like basically create SOPs, standard operating procedures for everything in your business and even you as the owner. I like the fact that you use the analogy of getting hit by a beer truck. I'm actually just kind of curious why a beer truck, but that's a different story. I think that's awesome. Man, I think there's so much stuff to extract there. Systems and processes, I think, in any business can get messy. In the janitorial business, it can get extremely messy. You mentioned something, though, I really want to hit on because I think this is a newer concept to this industry, but something that's so valuable as a business owner. You're part of a mastermind. One, tell people what that is and what that means and what value you've gotten from being part of a mastermind group.
Sure. Man, I forget the official quote made by Napoleon Hill to define a mastermind, and maybe you could add that in, or if you know it, say it.
Sure.
Call me out.
I don't.
But he said basically it's where two or more are gathered for a definite purpose, right? And so back in late 2015, I didn't know what a mastermind was. I had no clue. I knew of the term. And I've seen a lot of people I like, know, and trust and respected grow because they were in a mastermind. I had no idea what that meant. And one day I was listening to JLD, John Lee Dumas's Entrepreneur on Fire, EO Fire, and he had a guest on there by name of Aaron Walker. And it was the second time Aaron had been interviewed, but it was my first time listening to him. And he's talking about his experience and his values that are important to him and why he coaches and why he's a coach and everything. And it's like this guy, this guy with the Southern drawl, he's actually pulling me to him and I want to learn more about him. And I knew he did coaching. I picked up the phone, called him, and you know what? Cha-ching, it was far beyond, it's thousands of dollars a month. I'm like, I just don't have the budget for it. And so, but I kept following him. So I wanted to know more about him. And I always loved listening to John Lee Dumas and everything he has going with his podcast. Well, fast forward a few months, he was on a third time, and it's my second time hearing it, where he talked about, Aaron Walker talked about launching a mastermind. And he launched a mastermind called Iron Sharpens Iron. And basically, we're a bunch of guys in timeout with the gender talk because, when you're masterminding with other people, when you're connected with a bunch of guys, you're at a different level than mixed gender in some
Totally.
mastermind settings. In some mastermind
Totally.
settings, especially a well-rounded one with family and marriage, talking marriage and everything like that, you're getting a little more vulnerable. So he created a parallel one just for the ladies, right? And so that way, because they respond in a different way and so forth, and they're on a higher level, in my opinion, at least based on what I hear others say. But I wanted to join this mastermind, and I went and joined it, and that was January 2016. And fast forward, here we are, 2022. I've been 6 years in. I gotta say, this mastermind is key. Imagine this big group. It's probably about 150 people. Now, there's no way you can mastermind with 150 people. It's just too many. But it's broken down in groups of 10 to 12. So picture a Zoom call, a weekly Zoom call, 10 to 12 people, where you're sharing, you're being vulnerable, you're showing your finances, you're showing your bank statements, you're showing your goals, you're showing your vision, and you're laying everything on the table. And they're like a virtual board of directors. So they're pointing me in the right direction. Hey, Mark, you should do this. No, Mark, that's a bad idea. Don't do that. You can save money if you go here. Oh, I got this resource for you. You'll save hundreds, right? That type of mentorship I craved. And I fell in lock stop. And I can't tell you how many times they've saved universal janitorial services from near disaster. I mean, there's one time where our then biggest clients, like 40 grand plus a month, is a private school. This private school's facilities manager came and asked one of our employees for a cash bribe. He said, hey, I want a cash bribe, $1,000. If you don't give me $1,000 cash, I'll make sure this contract's never signed. We'd been there like 25 years.
Jeez.
So yeah, what a jerk and a half, right? And it's not about the money, but it's about the principle, right? If you're gonna be unethical like this, it rubs me raw. And it took me a while to figure out what to do. So I had to go to my tribe of mentors, my board of directors, whatever you want to call them, and say, hey, I got this situation here. How do you think I should respond to it? And so half of them said, just be quiet. And the other half said, no, you need to go to the boss. So it's like, oh man, it's 50-50 split. What did I say here? So I just let it drag on. Eventually they fired us because I didn't pay that $1,000. And then so it boiled to the point, well, what do I do now? I didn't want to be a narc or anything like that. I didn't, my goal wasn't to get anyone in trouble. But I had to explain to his boss, hey, this is why we're out, I believe. We had a good run here. It's been 20 plus years. Thanks for the memories. And that was it. I had to let him know. I wasn't looking to get back. And sure enough, a year later, they called us and they wanted us back. Had I not taken the time with that board, that never would have happened.
I think that's so well said. I think it's so awesome that you are a champion of masterminding in this industry, which I think it's a foreign concept too, although I hear about it more and more. And ultimately, it's just investing in yourself and also giving back to others, right? Like it's not just about you gaining, it's also about you giving, which is where a lot of us find the most fulfillment. I do have to do a quick little plug. The reason I wanted to ask you about that is one, because I think your mastermind group sounds fucking awesome. Two, we have a mastermind style event November 1st through the 3rd here in Denver called Clean Profits. We're super excited about. And it's all about just fellowship and connection. And then I had a mentor way back in the day say, never be the smartest person in the room. It's that simple. Don't be the smartest person in the room, whether that's on Zoom, whether that's, at the Chamber of Commerce, whether that's in whatever meeting. Find people that are winners and have what you want and be a sponge. So I think that's awesome. And that shows in the success you've had. And I'm assuming that's probably a big channel for a lot of what you give in your coaching sessions as well. It comes from the mastermind.
Yeah. I mean, just within our individual group, we have an author who wrote 18 books. And so I get to pick his brain on writing books and writing copy. We have a guy who owns a alarm, like security alarm install company. Another one does audio visual install. There's another guy who we coached him in selling his business for $12 million. So imagine being in your 30s and being a multi-millionaire. So between he and I, we're worth millions. It's just so cool just to hear all these stories from all these different people, all different backgrounds, and we're just there to help each other out. A rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Mark, this has been so incredibly valuable, man. I don't even know like where to go after hearing that. I just like now I just want to go get into a group of guys and just start talking shop and learning. If there's one piece of advice you have for an owner operator currently listening to this that's just bumping their head against that wall, that growth wall, whether that's $250,000 a year, whether that's $500,000, whether that's 1.8 million, whatever it is, what's one piece of advice to maybe help them plant the seed for a potential breakthrough?
Okay, so yesterday I was on a call with a guy in our mastermind, not in our individual group, but he's out on the West Coast, and just happened to chat with him. He doesn't own a cleaning business or anything like that. He actually owns an executive, not a coaching business, but executive like copy business where he helps people brand themselves if you want to become an author or keynote speaker or whatever. And so he was having some challenges, and he brought up or projected and hopefully I'm not stepping out of bounds with hopefully he's not listening, but he projected an aura of like, I give up. And some of us in the cleaning business are at that wall. I mean, you're just like you said, you're banging your head on the wall. You're trying to push through. You think your head is the best obstacle to get through that wall, and it's not. And you're stuck and you don't know what to do. And then when you don't know what to do, frustration builds in. When frustration builds in, you're reactive instead of proactive. And when you're reactive, you're always putting out fires. You're putting out fires because your business is sinking and you just want to give up. Don't give up. This is the time where you need to surround yourself with other people, whether it be your event there in Colorado, right? Or whatever event. You need to be around other people, other coaches, other individuals who will lift you up, help you see some of those possibilities, because we're stuck in our stinking thinking, especially when we're in that reactive stage. We have tunnel vision and we can't see the other opportunities out there. We think there's only one or two ways to get through that pile of manure. There might be 20 other ways we're just not seeing because we're not open-minded enough. And so now's the time where you need to get around, surround yourself with other people, be around other people, get that advice, even if it's painful to you. I can't tell you how many times in my mastermind we give each other virtual bloody eyes, right? Because we're giving each other advice and we take it, sometimes we take it the wrong way, or at least raw. And it's like, oh man, you just hit me in the gut, right? But that's what you need. You need to hear these other perspectives and other points of view to help you get through that situation.
Man, that's so well said. Mark, where can people find you, follow you, hire you? Where can people connect with you, man, after listening to this?
Sure. You can reach out anytime at mark@mycleanpivot.com, all one word. And if not there, find me on social media, Mark Lineberry on Facebook, mug just like this. I think my wife's in the mug as well. And you could easily reach out and we'll work with you and talk to you and at least point you in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. I can attest. Mark's a great guy. He cares for people. No bullshit, no gimmicks. So we'll link everything below. Mark, thank you so much, brother, for joining us today. And yeah, hope to talk shop with you again.
Man, awesome. Thanks, James, for having me on. I appreciate it.